having a wonderful day today. Well, wonderful morning so far. Today we are going to talk about the Morphe X Manny MUA Glam Palette collaboration. So I was not really sure if I was going to buy this, so this is going to take a minute. I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Morphe, and because I'm fairly new to Morphe, and why. So I didn't like to buy Morphe because they really reminded me of a lot of stuff you could buy on eBay and stuff like that, especially back when they first started making makeup. When Morphe first came out, their palettes looked like everyone else's palettes, which were those like 120 eyeshadow palettes that were the size of a penny. No, like a dime. And so I just wasn't interested. I had already bought a palette like that from a different company. I cannot think of the name. And so I figured I have every color that has ever been made in the entire world in this 120 palette, so I don't need another one. And then I didn't care too much to try their brushes because I had found Sigma, and Sigma had really great brushes, and the brushes that I saw Morphe coming out with all seemed to be the same. And that's when I started to kind of think, like, are they all like coming from the same place, which ends up that they were back then. There was one lab that was making all these palettes, and they were just mass producing them and slapping their company's name on them, which is brilliant. It's stupid, but it's brilliant at the same time, because they didn't have to create anything. They didn't have to spend a whole lot of money. They just had to pay to put their name on a palette that a million other companies were doing the same thing, but Morphe seemed to be able to stick around. So yeah, I just didn't find any interest in it. I liked my Sigma brushes, and then Real Techniques came out with their brushes, and then I really liked theirs. And then, you could just buy brushes on eBay that were like pennies on the dollar. And so I just kind of didn't really care. And then I started watching, I don't even remember the first Morphe palette I ever bought. I know it wasn't for me. I bought it for my daughter because she really likes their palettes because they have so much stuff, and she loves to create really colorful looks. But I think that I had been watching, it was either Laura Lee, or it was, yeah, I'm pretty 90% sure it was Laura Lee, because she was the very first person when I came back to YouTube and started watching it again that I watched use some of their brushes, and I thought they actually looked really nice. They looked really soft, and I'm very careful about watching when people are using brushes, if they're super stiff or if they're super soft. And you can tell. I mean, you can tell when you use a brush, when someone's using a brush, if they put it to their face and the bristles move with their skin and not like move their skin, So I saw some of their Elite brushes. They came, and I was like, oh, you know what? Those really actually kind of look nice. Nobody in Utah at that time was selling them. They weren't in Ulta. So I had to order them online. And I ordered some that were great, and I ordered some that were absolutely horrific. They felt like they were poking my face. I swear, I am convinced that Morphe brushes cause big pores. Like some of their brushes, like just cheap brushes in general, because it feels like they're poking holes in your face. So I steered away from that, and then I would, touch some of their palettes, and I was like, yeah, they're not too bad. It's too much color. I don't have, I have space to store palettes and stuff, but I don't have space to store a palette that's this big. Like, I bought the Jaclyn Hill palette. Actually, that's the first palette I ever bought from Morphe, was the Jaclyn Hill. And I was like, I love this. where in the hell am I going to put a palette that's bigger than my biggest book? And so I just ended up giving it to my daughter. And then I bought like a dummy, I bought the James Charles palette, and I thought the same thing. I was like, I like it. It's not bad. Where am I going to put this? So when he came out with the mini, I actually ended up getting, so I bought 2 of the James Charles big palettes. I gave them both to my daughter, and then I bought the mini for me because that I can store and not feel like it's taking up an entire space in my closet. So when this came out and when the Jeffree Star palette came out with Morphe, I was so confused. I was like, why are they coming out with palettes with this brand when they, when they have their own? And I think, okay, so I've heard them say that the reason why they did that was because Morphe can create palettes at a price that they cannot, which I believe that to a certain extent when it comes to Jeffree Star's palettes, because his palettes are, the packaging is so elaborate. He doesn't send you a cardboard packet like packaging. They are very elaborate packaging. I don't have, I have the one with Shane Dawson, the Conspiracy palette, and I also have the red one. They are very elaborate, and those cost a lot of money to create and to make. And I would not say that Jeffree Star's eyeshadow formula is the best. It's very, very powdery, just in my experience with what I've tried. They're very, 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 very powdery. So I feel like the money seems to go more towards the packaging than it does for the formula of his eyeshadows. Just saying. But at the same time with Jeffree, I don't believe that, because he is a multi-millionaire. So he names his prices on his palettes. Like, he decides how much he charges. And so if he wanted to make a palette like Morphe's, or like the one he did with Morphe, and charge what he did with Morphe, he could have. He just didn't want to. And he probably got a good chunk of money for doing that with Morphe, and it benefited both parties. I just don't like them using that as an excuse as to why they did it, because they can. I mean, if it's your own brand, you can decide what you charge, right? Like, I mean, Laura Lee, her eyeshadow palettes, like, she dropped them all the way to from $45 to $31 for a whole kit of the palette, highlighters, and lip glosses. Like, you can decide what you are going to charge, because you know how much you paid to create it, which is definitely not what you're charging to sell it, right? So I feel like Manny, if he wanted to, he could have made this, because all of his palettes are cardboard, the ones he's come out with his brand, all of them. So he could have come out with, and I have them all. They're literally all exactly like this. They're cardboard. There's nothing other than the Halloween one. It's cardboard. It's thicker cardboard, which probably cost him a little bit more to make than the rest of his palettes. But he could have done this. So their excuse that Morphe can do it cheaper than them, probably because they have a bigger company, but, well, than Manny anyway. Not Jeffree, no. He could have done it for cheaper. He just didn't want to cheapen his brand by lowering it and making like a $20 palette. Anyway, let's get into this, because I'm 9 minutes in and I haven't even talked about the palette. So this is what it looks like. This comes with 14 eyeshadows and 2 highlighters. It is obviously very Manny. I don't know why they call him Copper Eye Nude Lip. I mean, I guess it's because that's the look he always does. I personally think it's beautiful. Like, these, I haven't touched them yet, but I think what I'm looking at right now, this is definitely something that I would use, except for this color. That to me is very, it is almost like that pop of blue effect, but different. Like, why would you throw this in here? It's like a freaking hot pink, kind of fuchsia. And I just, okay. So I'm touching the first one, which is the fuchsia shade, which is called Gamenta. Okay. So my first thought is this is very dry. It is very, very dry and super, super chalky. There is nothing creamy about this eyeshadow at all. And there's my swatch. I don't know if you can really tell. It skipped a lot. I went over it twice. Very, very, very choppy. I wasn't expecting that. I really thought this was going to be creamy, but I want to wipe it off pretty quick because I know that this color tends to stain. So yeah, so far with the first one, I am not impressed. That was the driest formula I've ever felt in my life. Seriously, even those 120 shadow palettes have softer eyeshadows. That one was like chalk. So you can imagine how it's going to go on your face, your eyes. I mean, it's just going to skip. Okay, now I'm swatching Boy Next Door. Very soft. This one was super creamy. That's this one right here next to it. Right here. That one was nice. And it's a really pretty color. You're probably not going to be able to see it that well, but yeah, that's right there. Super creamy, nice and soft. I'm making sure my fingers are dry before I go back in, especially because I don't know if these cause it'll cause hard pan because it does on a lot. That has nothing to do with the brand itself. It just, that happens. Dust Cloud, which is this one right here. The lightest of the 14. And that one is also very creamy, nice and soft. Looks really beautiful. Now we're going to swatch Scorpio, which is this one, which is more like a copper. Oh, poor Manny. I swear people just love to hate him. And that one also is really creamy. So maybe it's just that one because it did not feel nice at all. We're going to go into a couple of other ones to see if this one, same thing. It's really soft. Fire Witch. They are very muted, I will say. Like these ones that look like they would be super dark are coming off very, very sheer. This is 2 swatches. Like I went, going over it twice. Let's try it. Okay, this one's Leo. And yeah, my finger's stained from the pink one. And it wasn't even on there for very long. Leo feels very, very nice and creamy. Very creamy. Almost like a wet formula. Very good went on, super beautiful. Do you see what I'm talking about? How they're very, very like super muted colors, like they're not bright. Leo was, it's beautiful. Like though, if you see it in person, it's really gorgeous. We're gonna try Sophie. Same thing, very, very creamy. This is like exactly like my skin tone, so you probably won't be able to see it. Spellbound is a darker color. So I'm wondering if this one is also going to be, nope, super soft. I don't know what's going on with the other one, Jamenta. If I'm saying that, I'm going to feel like a dummy. And that one is very pigmented, very nice. Very, very nice. I like this one. That was Spellbound, which is right here. Okay, now we're going to go into Cancer. And this is kind of like a purple. Bring up my shirt a little bit. And this is a lot like Leo, where it's really creamy. It's obvious, it's a shimmer. It is also very muted. You're gonna have to dig into that one to get any kind of payoff because I'm digging into it with my finger. So imagine if you use a brush. So it's super, and that's a shimmer. So, and my skin's dry, so I don't have any lotion on or anything. I have no reason to try to make this look better than it is. Okay, so far we've gotten to Zaya, which is this color right here. And they've all been really creamy, except for that one, the Gementa. I hope I'm saying this right. Okay, and then the last two we're going to go into that we haven't are Aries and Owl. Oh, this one's really pretty. This reminds me of Club from MAC. It's got kind of like it's a duochrome. It looks green in the pan. See how it's kind of green? And then on, it's pink and has kind of like a purple hue to it. I like that color though. I really like the one from MAC. It looks exactly like Club from MAC, to be honest. And then Howl, I'll use a different finger that's not wet. And Howl is just a really dark chocolatey brown. And this one is also very nice and super creamy. It's right there. Sorry, my swatch is crappy. So there are all the colors. The only one that's not on here is Boy Next Door and Gementa. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't even know. But I am going to try swatching this again. Yeah, it is just so dry. Oh my gosh. It even has a grittiness to it. That's so weird. Oh my gosh, you guys can barely see that. Okay, right there. And then Boy Next Door. See, if you get this, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And then Boy Next Door is literally my skin tone. So, yeah, these are all beautiful except for that one. That one is the only one that feels like dirt from outside. Okay, so I'm going to try to get this off as much as I can because these are like staining my arm, especially that pink one already. Okay, I'm going to hurry and get on this Morphe site because I cannot remember how much this costs. Okay, so let's try the highlighters. So this one's Apollo, and it's the darker of the two. So it's this one. That's funny. I put up Morphe brushes and BH Cosmetics came up first. That's hilarious. Okay. Why isn't it bringing up the website? Interesting. I don't know, my laptop is being a little busy. Oh my gosh. My kids were messing with it and now I don't know what they've done to it. Every time I try to go into it, it tries to make me log on to their school. Here we go. Okay. And what else I find interesting is when you first log on to the Morphe website, they do not, the first thing you see is not his palette, which I find very interesting just because with Jeffree Stars, it was all over their when you first logged on, the first thing you saw was everything pink from Jeffree Star. His sponges, his brushes, and everything. With Manny's, you have to scroll down and get past all of the other stuff. Okay, so the palette itself is $20, which is not a bad deal. It's actually a really good deal, and you can use a Morphe code. I obviously don't have one of those, but you can use obviously anybody's. I'm sure everybody has watched someone that's got a Morphe code, because I think everyone and their dog has one. Okay, so they are both very creamy, and I think that they are both very beautiful. Apollo is a little bit drier than Nova, which is the lighter of the two. So this is Nova and this is Apollo. Nova did feel a little softer when I touched it. Let's see what it looks like on. Sorry. It's actually really pretty, guys. Yeah, I'm putting on Nova. I'm going to flip this brush over and put a little bit of Apollo. You can see it kind of left a sheen, you know, it's not, and I really like that. I mean, there's a time and a place for the super blinding highlight. I don't have a time and a place for that, just because I'm a mom. I don't go to events, I don't go to balls, and I don't go to Coachella. So super blinding highlights are definitely not my thing. I mean, when I say super blinding, I mean when they're wetting their brushes and then leaving a streak. I'm not going anywhere where that is necessary. So that to me is unnecessary, but I like them when they are just soft, where it just leaves a glow, where it looks like you could just be a little dewy. Maybe you're a little oily, that kind of thing. Not too oily, but just, you know, it's kind of a soft sheen on your face. Even though I think everyone in the world, at this point, even husbands, know what a highlighter is. This color, Apollo, looks to me a little bit like Jaclyn Hill's, what is this? High Volt. So I'm gonna, except for High Volt is a lot shimmerier. But we're gonna see them next to each other. No, I guess not. The one on the top is High Volt, and the one next to it is Apollo. They're not too much alike. I do like this. Oh my gosh, this High Volt is so pretty. She did such a good job, guys. Like, seriously, like, I don't care if you are a Jaclyn hater. She can create a highlight. Like, that woman knows what she's doing when it comes to that. Like, she killed it. Plain and simple. And I've said this before in other videos. I am not a super Jaclyn fan. I don't, you know, chase her down to follow her. If I saw her in the mall, I wouldn't freak out and run or anything. Like, she's, seems like a sweet person, but, you know, it is what it is. She's a person just like me and you. So what do I think of this palette? I think that it is definitely worth the $20. All of the eyeshadows seem to perform, and well, I can't say perform because I haven't used them on my eyes, but they feel very, very nice, very creamy, and they are very on par with the holiday season with the colors. Neutral, you could use these year round. The only color that needs work and should probably not have even been included is this one. I don't like it. I love that he included 2 highlights with the palette, and that this is different from anything that I've personally seen Morphe do. I don't know if they have done things similar to this kind of palette before. Like I said, I'm new to Morphe, but I'm glad that it's not their typical black package. And I think that Manny has kind of tried to turn it around as far as the drama because that was a real turnoff for me, and it had nothing to do with exactly what the drama was about. It was that it was no longer about the makeup, and it was all about what was going on between all of them, which was so irritating. Like, take that to the back of the barn. Like, take that to the back of a bar. Like, do not, just, you know, don't air out your dirty laundry for all of the world to see. Like, they're not kids. These are people that are in their 30s. So I'm pretty sure Manny's in his 30s, but I'm not quite sure. He may still be in his 20s, but the other two are in their 30s, almost 40s. So yeah, I think that it is definitely worth the price. 20 bucks is not a lot. So if you're not happy, you didn't lose a whole lot of money. I know that is not super inexpensive to some people, but you will get your money's worth out of it. You get, like I said, you get 2 highlighters and 14 eyeshadows, and all of them are beautifully formulated except for the one. The packaging is nice. You get a really nice mirror. It's not one of those where you look deformed. It's really nice. And this is something that you can take with you if you need to. I hate when people say, oh, it's so travel friendly. I don't go anywhere. Like, and if I'm traveling, I am taking specific things like that I won't care if they break, and this is probably would be one of them, but I don't go anywhere that, you know, I need to worry about that, but maybe you do. So that is a very travel friendly palette. You'll have pretty much all you need in it as far as eyeshadows, transition colors, and your highlighter. So go ahead and give it a try. I mean, it's 20 bucks plus your, you know, 10% off with whoever code you use. So yeah, I think that's the one thing that they did right, because sometimes when they do these collabs, the Morphe codes don't work. So go ahead and pick up your Manny palette. You will not be disappointed, I don't think. All right, guys, this video has gotten almost a half an hour long, so I'm going to go. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.